What's up, YouTube? This is Bill Mack here with Pro Wrestling Unleashed. This is the Impact Wrestling weekly wrap up show. I am here once again. Thanks to each and every one of you that are watching my videos. I hope you can will strive to put as much as wrestling content as I can, among other things. It's just whatever hits me to put on there. I love wrestling; those my passion and whatnot. And the more videos I try to put out, whether it's WWE or TNA, wrestling news, whatever it could be, or reactions. I try my best to put it out there. I'm a passionate wrestling fan, and for all you wrestling fans, I hope you enjoy my videos. And if you like this video, like it, and drop a comment on it. Subscribe to my channel. It only lets me know that you are watching and enjoy my videos, and I'll strive to keep coming out with more. This is Impact Wrestling episode for March 16th, 2017. The show starts off. We see Alberto El Patron. He is opening up the show. He's basically standing in the middle of the ring. He's talking about how he loves Impact, how he loves wrestling, where he can be himself, that he's a fighter. He cuts a really good promo about how he's dedicated. He talks about what happened with Lashley. And he said that he should be the one standing in the middle of the ring as being their champion, being the Impact Wrestling heavyweight champion. But like I said, due to backstage politics, which we saw where last week El Patron had to give the Impact Wrestling Championship back to Bobby Lashley, and he talks about facing Lashley. EC3 comes out, and EC3 kind of, even though he's a face, he was kind of trying to bait and get El Patron to face him. El Patron was basically telling EC3, basically, he says, look, I'm here. I'm not here to face the bitch. I'm here to face the man. So he was talking, kind of belittling EC3, which EC3 didn't take it too well, So EC3 kind of started talking smack back to El Patron. They started to brawl. He was just basically trying to antagonize El Patron and getting a matchup for him with him later in the night. As we, he wanted to be the focus in EC3 because he didn't like that he wasn't being called the franchise player of Impact Wrestling. And EC3 has been there for a long time. We basically recognize him. Like I said, AJ Styles was it. Now EC3's been there for a long time since coming from WWE. So he's been a mainstay there. Lashley, he wrestles and he does Bellator fights as well. EC3 just didn't take it too kindly. So I thought this was a good promo to open up Impact Wrestling. They didn't. When we come back, they show a video of Eli Drake and Tyrus and what's been basically going on with them the last few weeks and whatnot, which leads us into a tag matchup. And in this, and we see the going back and forth with Drake and Tyrus and how they finally come together now and are on the same page. So this matchup is two newcomers. We have Garza Jr. and the Laredo Kid taking on Drake and taking on Tyrus in this matchup. Now this match was okay. I mean, the commentary wasn't so bad like it was last time. It was kind of toned down a little bit because a lot of people were complaining about the bickering between Boris and Josh Matthews. He's trying too hard with his heel gimmick and it's really not coming over. But they're so much relying on that they're not really getting into the matchup and trying to put over Garza, trying to put over Laredo Kid, because with the new guys in, you've got to somehow get a push towards them to get them their new guys. They're coming in. That's what you're supposed to do as announcers, to tell a story, trying to get these guys over with your viewing audience. That you've got to give them a personality, give them a story so that people can become familiar with them. Because if you're just so relying on storyline and these things others with the commentary and you're not focusing on putting your talent over, then you really lose sight of that. So it was, like I said, Eli Drake and Tyrus were going back and forth in the beginning of the matchup. And throughout the matchup, there were a lot of quick tags back and forth. Quite a bit of action between Garza basically taking a brunt of the punishment by the Tyrus and Eli Drake. ends up Garza with the hot tag, and ends up the match comes to an end whenever he rolls up Eli Drake, gets the 1, 2, 3. There you go, and you win your winners, which is oddly enough for Eli Drake and Tyrus, especially these two. Eli Drake's one of your main heels, and Tyrus there for those two to lose to the new guys. And in that manner, just really says something. But you need to put your new guys over when you're dealing with this sort of matchup. So basically, Garza Jr. and the Laredo Kid pick up the win in the opening bout of Impact Wrestling. Up next, we see highlights of Moose. We see Eddie Edwards and Lance Storm in OAAH, as we have, as you know, I don't know if many of you know, basically TNA has reached out to NOAH and whatnot, and trying to pick up a good wrestling relationship with some of these other promotions where they can go back and forth with talent, have a good working relationship with them, which I think is a good idea. It's good to see fresh talent, new talent in and out. Good working relationship is good to have that with Impact, with some of their guys. And, it looks like they all did a good job in NOAH, so they show that package. Up next, they had been building through the night and talking about Brandy Rhodes having her first matchup against Casey Quinn, and we've seen little bits of that and seen the previews of that. But when it really came down to it, it really just kind of soured, because as Brandy's in the ring, Casey Quinn is the one that she's going to face in her matchup. Basically, they turn around and Cody says, "No, you're not going to allow them to pimp out the Rhodes name." So, because they remember, WWE's had problems with Cody, haven't been able to use the Rhodes name outside of WWE since they own that trademark. But Brandy's is still fine to have it because they didn't really trademark her name, and that's really Cody's wife in real life. So he said, they're not going to pimp out the name. So he gave her $45, and then he starts berating Moose and putting Moose down, saying how he was in Japan and putting him down, and he kind of just cuts this promo on Moose, talking about he ends up basically leading to him challenging Moose for the Impact Wrestling Grand Championship whenever he gets that chance. So we kind of see him kind of belittling Moose in this promo. Ends up Cody and Brandy leave. Casey Quinn is left in the ring. All of a sudden, Rosemary comes out. Rosemary ends up to proceed to beat down Casey Quinn. She ends up hitting the red wedding while she's standing over Casey Quinn. She's down. The EMTs come out, and they're shown before we go to break, checking on Casey Quinn to make sure she's all right. So that's basically how that happens. And as we see and get ready to, before we go, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. And we are moving right along with the weekly wrap up for Impact Wrestling. We see that Matthews and Jeremy Borash have arguing, and the Pope is just kind of sitting over there, and he's kind of looking like, seeming very annoyed by this. I hope this wraps up sometime with this feud. I know they're trying to get Josh over as a heel commentary announcer, but it's just, like I said, it's more annoying than anything else. I mean, it really don't need to. Do you really need to do this when you're focusing time on that? Just make it evident through your matches, Impact. That's all you really got to do, is make it evident through the matches that he's a heel. You don't have to sit there and cut promos. I know they tried to do that with Michael Cole, which Michael Cole was already established long before he even went into the ring and did all the stuff back in WWE with Jerry King Lawler when they had their feud. So while it is, the Pope's looking like he's getting annoyed, Pope may come back and wrestle where it's just Borash and Josh Matthews. And like I said, maybe that's just my guess. I don't think maybe he's going to be in it long. As far as commentary, I think it's just going to be those two going back and forth. Pope really needs to be wrestling if he can. I'm not sure what his status is, but he really needs to be wrestling and out of the commentary booth, because nobody wants to have to hear and deal with that. We see now, it boils down to it, what match started at the beginning of opening of Impact Wrestling. We see Alberto El Patron coming out and taking on EC3. Now they began brawling from the very beginning of the opening bell, from wrestling on the inside of the ring, brawling on the outside of the ring. El Patron at the first part of the matchup takes the early control over EC3. There's a lot of going back, near misses, a lot of different pins. It goes back and forth, and there's points where EC3 goes to set up the 1%er. El Patron fights it off. El Patron tries to work on EC3's arm to try to set him up for the armbar. Patron goes on the outside, gets hit on the announcer's table from EC3. It was a decent back and forth matchup. The ending comes where EC3 ends up hitting 2 KOs on El Patron, but after one of them, he sees he can't really make the cover because of his arm. And then next time he just kind of stares. So he's kind of got that, what they're calling that dumb baby face persona, to where he's like, why don't you go ahead and just pin the man? But then all of a sudden he goes on the outside, gets a chair. Now he's sitting there trying to figure out whether he uses it, whether he doesn't need to use it. And then he ends up throwing it down. So then by the time he goes and grabs El Patron takes him and ends up hitting the arm bar on EC3 in the middle of in the ring. Makes EC3 tap out. We have your winner, Alberto El Patron, and a good show of sportsmanship at the end of the match where they shake each other's hands, and he says he gives respect to EC3. It's one of his best matches he helped him with, so good sign of respect without making either one of them heel. So here we have El Patron picking up the win. So next up, of course, is probably Lashley will be on his list. They show this really cool Suicide video. Remember, Suicide was on TNA many years ago when they had the TNA game out. But with Impact Wrestling, Jeff Jarrett back at the helm of creative with Dutch Mantel, Scott D'Amore, all these guys coming back in. Suicide's going to make his run in the X Division. Hence, they put a pretty cool package together here, which leads us into our next matchup. We have the X Division champion, Trevor Lee, versus Suicide versus Braxton Sutter versus Adam Everett. Now, this is a good showcase match, pretty good overall matchup. We get each one hits their own high marks and high spots in the matchup, and it goes back and forth. Remember, Ali accompanies Sutter out in the ring. A lot of going back and forth, and what happens is Lauren Van Ness, remember from the wedding, she looks all deranged. She's got her makeup smeared. She's still wearing a wedding dress, eating cake. She's out there yelling at Allie. And what happens is that she tries to go and attack Allie. Sutter is looking at what's going on out there with them, and Trevor Lee ends up hitting the knee strike, pinning Sutter 1, 2, 3. Trevor Lee retains as your X Division champion. As they're standing out in the ring, Allie, along with Sutter, Laura Van Ness is talking. Sienna makes her appearance at the top of the ramp. She cuts a promo on Allie about. She says she promises to execute her. And this really kind of made Van Ness kind of laugh and went, ha ha. It was just some promoter setting up with Sienna and Allie in this matchup. And remember, after the matchup and possibly for a potential feud coming up. So last but not least, to end out the show, folks, we see Bruce Prichard come out. And Bruce Prichard cuts this promo about how the titles aren't going to change into intergalactic space or our own line or anything like that, which is referencing the Hardy Boys and their broken gimmicks. And they remember they were the champions before they chose not to re-sign with Impact Wrestling. So the belts they never got back on TV. Even though the Hardys agreed to go on TV to drop the titles, they said, no, you're not going to have an Impact. Anthems told them, no, you're not going to come back on our show without a contract. We're not going to have it. We're basically going to let it go, and you're not going to come back on. So they're kind of going through their issues, but the tag titles You still got to have tag team champions on Impact Wrestling. So Bruce Prichard makes it a point. He says, what we're going to do is in 2 weeks, he says, we're going to have the top 4 teams in Impact Wrestling go at it. And whoever wins will be your new Impact Wrestling Tag Team Champions. This prompts the Decay to come out. And they put over that they should be the rightful ones to have the titles. And then Reno Scum, which is a new team. Remember, they beat DCC, and they talk about that, how they should be the ones to be in this. And then you have the new tag team that just debuted earlier, Garza Jr. and Laredo Kid. And Laredo Kid was talking in Spanish, I guess, or whatever. And I just didn't get what he was saying. And then I think Garza had to basically had to interpret for him. I guess that was the right ones, the names, as long as I don't get the names mixed up. But, well. But then by that time, out of nowhere, we see Conan and Homicide. Remember, Conan was the leader of LAX. Remember, LAX was big back in the old TNA days. Now in Impact Wrestling, Conan and Homicide come out there. All of a sudden, hits the ring, we see Angel Ortiz and Mike Drazik and Angel Rose come out there, and they all just jump on everybody, and ends up LAX, which is what they're all formed now together, the new LAX. Conan cuts a promo, lets them know LAX is back, and we see that they take their flags, drape them over the fallen bodies of those within the ring, and we see they stand posing in the ramp. So it looks like LAX is back. They make their surprise return at the end of Impact, and what a way to do it. So now we have this, we see some feuds starting to line up with Sienna, with Allie. We see LAX now back in the mix with it. Pretty good show. Their second show under the new regime. The first one kind of didn't, go as well. They're now just trying to figure themselves out, sort themselves out. Now start putting feuds with this new regime taking over. So I hope you've all enjoyed the video. Like I said, until next time. I hope, like I said, I will keep putting out more content. I'll be back next week with Impact, with your weekly wrap up of Impact for this upcoming week. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you do, like I said in the beginning, just drop a like on this video here, and also comment on it, subscribe to my channel, and just enjoy the wrestling news, and I'll come back with another episode as soon as I can. So everyone take care. For Pro Wrestling Unleashed, this is Bill Mack. Take it easy.